Welcome back to the Union Street podcast. We have a very, very special episode today in the studio with my mother, Rebecca O'Neill, my brother, Lawrence, and my sister, Maggie. Let's hear it for them. Woo! This is exciting. Mom, you are our distinguished guest today.
Well, thanks for having me.
We're thrilled to have you on, talk about your story and some big news that just happened with Artstarts. And we're going to talk about that and go through memory lane and hear about different stories and what's next. It's going to be a good time. Because without Artstarts, there would be no Union Street Arts. And without you, there'd be no Artstarts. So we owe a lot of our lives to you. And just want to say thank you for being here and joining us on our podcast.
Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So Lawrence.
Hi.
This is your second time on the podcast?
Second time this summer that I'm on the podcast.
You're becoming a regular now.
Well, it's good to be.
And Maggie, you're here too.
Hello. Yes. Second time on camera. I was behind the scenes on another one.
Maggie's played the producer role for us, and she's actually producing today too, so thank you, Maggie.
Yeah.
Shout out to you.
We'll see. Thank you.
So we just want to jump in and have a history of Rebecca O'Neill, hear about your life from Johnson City to law school to marrying our dad to having us as kids, Artstarts, and everything beyond. So let's just do it, Mom. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up in Johnston City, family of 4 children. Was raised there, graduated high school there. Went to John A. Logan College for 2 years, SIU, and then straight to law school. Met your dad at law school. We got married the week after the bar exam, and off we went. We stayed here in the community, lived here, and eventually had you kids and raised you here too.
Been married 34 years.
We have. We just celebrated that anniversary last week.
We had a really nice time, nice tradition for our family's anniversary.
Yes, you kids make it very special for us.
Yeah. It's one of our favorite nights of the year is putting together Mom and Dad's anniversary dinner. So it's always a lot of fun to do together. We always cook for them and have cocktails and appetizers and entree. Maggie usually bakes a dessert, which is always delicious.
Oh, we had that chocolate cake. That was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we love to eat and have, good time with our family.
We do.
So what is Artstarts?
Artstarts is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that provides opportunities in the arts for children throughout Southern Illinois. And our tagline is connecting the community through the arts. So our goal is that we serve all children. Typically our children are ages 5 to 18, but we have done programming for even younger kids, the ramp class. The goal is that any child who wants to participate can, regardless of their economic status and actually even regardless of their talent. So we're all inclusive.
Everybody's welcome at Artstarts.
Everybody's welcome at Artstarts.
You have some big news recently, Mom. Some really big news. So you've been, Lawrence, how should we start this?
Well, for the past 17 years, you have been very involved in Artstarts. You were one of the founding members, the founding president of the organization. And you want to share what recently happened, Mom?
Well, I resigned from Artstarts this week. So that is big news, a big change in my life, and it's a big change for the company, too.
So we want to talk a little bit about that. But first I want to go into the origin story and tell our audience why did Artstarts start? When did that happen? And what was the catalyst for that?
Well, we started in 2005. The catalyst was that the junior high had done a summer's, they had done a summer's show, Fiddler on the Roof Junior. That was actually the first show in the Civic Center after it was rebuilt, after it was burned. And actually, the Civic Center wasn't entirely completed, but they let us have the show anyway. Anyway, you kids were in the show. Lawrence played Tevye, and Cindy Hunt discovered a junior theater festival in Atlanta, and the cast of that was eligible to go to participate. And it ended up, there was a small group of kids that went. There were like 5 mothers involved. So it was Barb Sipin, Cindy, Beth Mullenbrock, Sarah Bond, and who was the other one?
You.
Oh, me.
Don't forget yourself.
Me. Anyway, it was unbelievable because there were thousands of kids from all over the country, all over the world that participated in this. So it was really fun. You kids got to see all these other kids doing the stuff that you love. But the really big thing that happened down there was that we won the festival. Our team won as one of the best teams, and Lawrence was chosen as best male performer. And what that meant that year was you all got to perform on the stage of the Fox Theater in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was a really big deal because they had all the Disney people there watching, and thousands of people attended. So anyway, we were extremely energized after that and came home that summer, and our family took a trip to Colorado that summer, and during that car ride, I wrote up the corporation founding papers to form Artstarts because we wanted the rest of the community to be able to experience those types of things. And that is what happened. We formed, the 5 women formed the company, and with nothing, Beth loaned us money. I did, because there's a lot of fees involved in applying for all that, and to get our first show license. And so we started from nothing, and we became something very, very large. So anyway, it's been unbelievable, really, what has happened over these past 17 years. It's a huge organization now.
Quite the transformation in scale from that first trip to Atlanta. Lawrence, can you talk about that trip a little more and being exposed to different theater groups from around the country in that program and how that impacted everybody that was there, and then winning Best Male Performer too?
Sure. Well, us kids had performed in different theaters across Southern Illinois, and so we kind of knew what it felt like to be with different people from different communities and coming together to create theater and be part of a theater experience. But going to Atlanta, that's really like magnified by a huge scale. And we were able to see other groups performing, students who were our age, who had done similar shows. And then we got to do what we loved to do, which was performing and being together performing. And we got to do that also. And while we were there, we participated in workshops, dancing workshops. And then, as Mom shared, our group ended up winning. So that meant that we got to have a rehearsal with the Junior Theater Festival people. And then we performed on the Fox stage together. The song that they asked us to perform was Sabbath's Prayer from Fiddler on the Roof Jr. And that was really special. And then, as Mom shared, I also won the award Best Male Performer for the role of Tevye, which was very cool, too. Yeah.
I remember being in the crowd during the junior high show that summer, and people were giving you standing ovations during the middle of the performance.
Yeah, they did.
People were going crazy. And you mentioned it was the first show back.
It was.
In the Civic Center.
So it was
and that was a
high
big
energy.
deal.
Yeah, high energy. Everybody was dying to get back in the theater, so it was fabulous. It was really something to be involved in that first show. Another thing that happened when we formed Artstarts is several of the companies that did shows, like McLeod Theater was shut down when we formed Artstarts, and it had been for several years because they were having to redo all the electrical wiring in the building. So that wasn't an opportunity in the summer for young people to participate in. And John A. Logan College had quit doing their summer shows. They had always done a summer show, and Lawrence, in fact, well, Maggie, you were in their summer show too. What were you in? Oliver?
Oliver.
Yeah, you were both in Oliver.
Yeah.
But right after that, they quit doing the summer shows. So the shows that you were participating in were up at Wren Lake College with Tracy Webb. You know, that was a really long haul. We had a few other kids that were your friends who ended up being in some of those shows, but you know, most kids couldn't do that. It was just too far of a drive. So, you know, so all of those kind of precipitated into us forming Artstarts too, because they just weren't available. Those opportunities weren't available.
And finding and filling a need within the community and to help serve these kids and give them those opportunities. That's, you know, what Artstarts has been all about and been so successful at doing and producing incredible shows. So what was that first show you've incorporated from the car ride, got those 5 original women? What was that first show?
We did Godspell, and it was wonderful. We actually practiced at our Redeemer Lutheran Church, which is our church, the church you grew up in. And we did that as our first show because, well, for lots of reasons. It didn't require a large cast, didn't require a large set. We thought that like youth groups and local churches would want to come to the show, maybe participate in the show. And anyway, it turned out, and you know, the costumes were easy to do, you know, so it was a really very doable show, and it was a huge success. We sold tickets all the way into the balcony. So we got off to a really good start early.
And Lawrence, you played
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Maggie, you were in that show as well.
Yeah, I was one of the disciples. Yeah.
It was a fun show. I remember being in the audience for that show, not yet participating in the program, but, you know, made an impact again, being in the Civic Center and, you know, having a big stage like that to see performances on, see my siblings on.
Yeah,
you know,
fun.
Pretty cool.
You always said you loved being in the audience. Of course, you love performing too, but you love being in the audience. I love being in the audience.
Yeah. And, you know, from that success of that show, you said, we got to do this again, right?
Oh yeah, you can't stop then. You've got the bug, and you know you can do it. You get more courage, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was after Godspell?
Oh gosh,
What's that next? So you're still don't have a place, practicing in the church, just first started a theater nonprofit here. You know,
oh yeah.
What was some of that transition like?
Well, you know, funny thing I forgot about Godspell is we stored the set and what costumes we had at our house. The house we affectionately called the townhouse because it was in town and we lived in the country. And Dad and Rich Sanders moved all the set into the garage of that house. And the closets were just full of stuff from Artstarts for years until we got to be bigger. But anyway, what was the next thing we did? I don't know.
It was cats.
Was it cats?
Yeah, cats.
Okay. You know, it was really hard picking which shows to do. Actually, that's one of the hardest things in managing a company is to pick the right show. But cats, I mean, you could do so much with cats. Lots of kids. You could have lots of kids, lots of costumes. And Cindy Hunt ended up directing it, and she went all out. Man, it was fabulous. So the kids got to design their own costumes. And so a lot of them were like rainbow, blue sparkles. We had every color a cat imaginable. And I don't remember how large the cast was, but it was huge.
It was over 100.
Over 100 kids.
Yes. Yeah. The magnitude and the scale of the production really jumped from Godspell to Cats in every way. The sets, the costumes, the size of the actors who were in the show. We also used a live orchestra for the first time in Cats. Mm-hmm. We had guest artists come in, Nathan Arnett, Tara Camblin, Jennifer Stilley, that just really helped enhance the production as well. It was so much fun.
Did we add an extra show for Cats?
Oh, I think we did.
Because
it sold out.
Yeah.
It sold out, so we had an extra show. I mean, it's just crazy,
Yeah.
really, what happened.
What do you attribute that success or that community response to?
I think it's in large part the quality of the work we were doing. Honestly, people loved it, and that's been true the whole history of Artstarts. Been very high quality. People are shocked what kids can do. There is so much talent in Southern Illinois.
You are one of the biggest proponents of talent in Southern Illinois that I know of, and through Artstarts, that's a big part of who you are.
That's my talent, recognizing talent. I've always said that.
Yeah. And actually, Cats was the first show I was actually able to be a part of with Andrew and Logan.
That was fun.
We were the catnappers. And I remember the SIU basketball team was in the Sweet 16 that year, and we were Saluki, we were Saluki dogs on the stage, and that was
very clever.
So many fun memories in that show. The set, the practices, and I didn't realize it sold out like that.
It did, and the dancing was unbelievable.
A lot of featured dancers, just like incredible performers and talent, like you were mentioning.
Yeah, this is like a vortex of talent right here. Southern Illinois is. It absolutely is.
So where did you get your appreciation for the arts and finer things in life? Because it exuberates.
Well, it's my mom. I knew I'd get emotional on this part because she recently died. But my mom was the most talented person I've ever known. And she was good at everything. I mean, like, great. She could sing, sew, dance, cook. I mean, she was just unbelievable. Every art she could do. And when she was raising us children, obviously she was a fabulous mother, but she exposed us to the arts constantly. She'd take us to the Muni in the summer. She'd take us to all the shows at SIU. She was the musician in church. She played the organ. I played the piano alongside her. She gave us music lessons. Anyway, when I was growing up, I was in a student group in high school, and my mom at that time worked for a corporation that had headquarters in New York City. And so she had to travel to New York City pretty regularly for her job. And anyway, the group I was with was a business group. We had this like fake corporation called Minico. And so we pretended we were a corporation. We sold donuts before school. Anyway, she took us to New York City, that group of kids that did that. And she arranged all that and took us to Broadway and just showed us, what the world holds, basically. So I attribute all that to my mother.
And her influence on you, obviously, has a big influence on us in the way you raised us. And, the inception of Artstarts. And we'll get into that more, some of the trips we took and some of all those really good memories that we've had throughout those years at Artstarts.
I did have one thing to say about my dad. My dad was a poet, and probably most people don't know that, but he was. I found a lot of poetry of his after he died. So, he had his talents too. So.
And you yourself, a musician as a kid.
Oh yeah, I played. I started taking piano lessons probably when I was in first grade, and then I played clarinet in the band. And then when I was in junior high, I lived next door to this gentleman who on Thursday nights would get together with a group of older gentlemen. They, I was in junior high. They were probably all in their 60s, maybe 70s. I don't know. Anyway, they all grew up in the big band era, and they would get together and play on Thursday nights. Well, they invited me, so I would go over there every Thursday night and play with all these old guys, and it was so much fun. And then one summer, one of the gentlemen in the band was Jack Batts, and he's a very famous violin maker from Johnston City. He would have a workshop for all these famous violinists from all over the world, and they would come and play with us. So one summer night, I got to meet all these famous violinists from all around the world. So that was a pretty unique experience too. So I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah, we are. We're all pretty lucky here. Mama, her legacy, and how, that relates to Artstarts. She hanging in Artstarts is the legend of Artstarts.
Yeah.
And it's framed on the wall, and it basically talking about dreaming up this company and how important that was and for the community and the impact that it's had. Can't be understated or overstated.
Either one.
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
Both work.
So what are some of the other shows Artstarts has done over the years? There's a lot. Over 17 years. 2 shows a year, basically.
Yeah, sometimes 3. Why don't you guys talk about that?
There was Cats, Godspell, Artstarts on Broadway, which was a Broadway review production that Artstarts did. The Wizard of Oz, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Oliver.
The Chorus Line, Beauty and the Beast.
Seussical,
Elf.
Christmas programs, Christmas spectaculars.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Artstarts also did what was called Dancing with Artstarts for many, many years, which was a charity event. Different community members came, and it was like Dancing with the Stars, but local community members came together and they worked for a charity, raised money for the charity, and then eventually somebody won a disco ball at the end. But throughout that, Artstarts kids would come in and they would do a lot of big production dance numbers, which were a lot of fun.
I remember those rehearsals were a lot of fun. And rehearsing in a church, this was before Artstarts was able to purchase their current building that they're in. And I remember the disco one, the John Travolta Saturday Night Fever. I remember the costumes for that were fun and
They're pretty.
just fun dances and songs.
Remember, I think with that show, we started practicing in a parking lot.
We did, at, like the car wash
Yeah.
parking lot.
At Ford. And then we moved, I think, into the mall, maybe? I'm not sure.
Rehearsed at Washington School for a little bit for that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a long journey, and just whatever it takes to make it happen, we're going to put on these shows. We're going to rehearse and let these kids have that chance to do it. What are some of the other places that Artstarts had practiced or utilized before?
Well, we
Having their own
also, one of the big churches had a gym. I can't remember the name of it, but it was one out by our Redeemer.
First Church of God,
Yeah,
maybe?
maybe. I think we practiced in their gym.
Just all over town, wherever you can find a
Right,
space.
right.
I remember there was like a shipping place where we would store set pieces.
Mhm.
I mean, I just have so many memories of just going all over town for practicing, moving set pieces, costumes. And when was it that, or how was that decision made to purchase a building? Actually, one of the nicest, more valuable buildings in this area.
Well, we've done a lot of work to it. There was the building that we're presently in at Artstarts. It's on Van Buren, right behind the Civic Center. There was a church that occupied it, and they were closing down. And their kids had been in our shows, so they knew we struggled and with all of our stuff because we rented spaces for practice, we rented spaces to store. And anyway, they reached out to us and asked us if we'd be interested in buying the building, and they sold it to us for $24,000. And we had that money in the bank from our shows. Oh, we did. So we paid cash for it.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, we've spent a fortune on the building since then because it was in very bad shape. So, heating and air conditioning, $30,000. We redid the kitchen to make it a commercial kitchen, another $30,000. We redid the floors, had to rip out floors. I mean, we have spent a fortune on that building. And now, since then, we are also built another huge building right next to Artstarts, and that was very expensive, very, very expensive. But we figured with the amount that we were paying to rent a space every month, that would pay the mortgage on that building, and it has. So, I mean, we still have a mortgage, but we've been able to make the payments. The pandemic was very hard on us financially, huge hit to Artstarts. And we haven't gotten a lot of grants or anything else. Even though we've applied for many, we've only really gotten one. So, I mean, that's been disappointing too. But at least we did get one that was about $20,000. So that has helped us. But you have to keep the heat on in the building during the winter. You have to pay your real estate taxes. We don't pay real estate taxes because we're a nonprofit, but your insurance is very expensive on a building like that. So the overhead is very expensive to keep a company going, even when you're not using the building. It costs a lot of money. So all those expenses kept going throughout pandemic without us having an income coming in. So pandemic was very hard financially on Artstarts, but we survived, and so.
What are some of your favorite memories about Artstarts over the years?
Well, I've got a bunch.
So do we, I'm sure.
We'll take turns. How's that?
Okay.
Of course, seeing you guys perform is some of my favorite memories. Sing in a chorus line. When you and your band opened our Christmas Spectacular show with Carol the Bells, I mean, that was just over the top incredible. One of my favorite things, too, is the children's shows. When we do junior shows, we usually have the school districts come in and watch. And seeing those little kids come in the building, a lot of them have not been in the building before, and they look up and they see that chandelier in the Civic Center, and they just think, where am I? I mean, they're just in awe. And then they see kids their own age performing on stage, and I mean, there's just nothing like it to see those kids in the audience. And then after the show, they get to go out and greet the characters. Yeah, that's one of my very favorite things about Artstarts.
Artstarts took at least two trips to New York City. Our family went on two of the trips that Artstarts took. And they were so many memories from those trips. Josh Rogers is somebody who we went to church with. He was a year older than me in school, and he was heavily involved in Artstarts and just volunteered so much of his time, and he loved the company very much. And Josh also loved New York City. And there's several really funny Josh stories from New York City that are just kind of like iconic lines that we like always say like around the house still to this day. Like, it's New York City, baby, the city that never sleeps. You know what I'm saying? That's a Josh line that is just iconic and a memory from Artstarts.
Yeah, those New York trips were definitely one of my fondest memories, from taking the bus ride, the 16 hours to Manhattan. And I remember going through the tunnel to get to Manhattan from New Jersey. And when we came out of that tunnel, I remember seeing the skyscrapers and just being in a different world and not being able to see the tops of the skyscrapers. Like, looking out the windows, everybody's like, we've made it, we're here. It's like we're in Oz. And so many great memories, and just seeing Broadway shows. You know, that's a big part of those trips. We would always go see many shows, tours, and yeah, those trips definitely are some of my fondest memories. And Mom, you sort of put that together like your mom did for you.
Oh, I know. It was a lot of work. It really was.
Probably pretty stressful having all those high schoolers in New York City, too.
It was. I mean, even just managing everybody, making their payments and everything else, there's a lot of back end to all of that, but people just don't realize unless they do it.
Yeah.
You know, I have a Josh story related to New York and my mom. I don't know if you picked that up on the camera, but I call this my Empire State Building ring, because we, on this tour that we were on with Artstarts, we had to wait in line a very long time to get up, to go up to the top. And my mom was in a wheelchair, and Josh pushed my mom all over New York City. He watched over my mom like a mother hen. Well, anyway, they got to go up before the rest of us because she was in a wheelchair. So they got done really quickly while they had to wait for the rest of us before we'd go to the next spot. Well, anyway, there's all kinds of shops and stores in the bottom of the Empire State Building. Well, my mom hit the jewelry store with Josh. And she purchased a lot of jewelry. He was about to pass out. He said, "No, you need to quit buying stuff." Anyway, she
So
bought.
mama.
Oh, I know, so mama. And she bought this ring there, and she gave it to me for my birthday this year, and I call it the Empire State Building. So it's a great memory of my mom and Josh, very dear to me, and our memories there, really great times. How about you, Maggie? What's some of your favorite memories?
Yeah, I mean, people have touched on that. I mean, in those early years, I mean, that was the age when we were in the shows. So all those shows that we were in with Taylor and Heather, and just meeting kids from other towns was just something that was just so fun. I mean, we were around Marion people in school, obviously, so it was really fun to be around people from other towns. And I remember in Atlanta and meeting the kids there, and like some of them being from like California. I mean, they're from all over. And I remember just thinking like, I've never been around people like that before. And it was, I don't know, just so fun. I mean, you didn't know any, I don't know. It was just really fun. What else? And Josh, I mean, like we've said too, I mean, just so many fun memories with Josh, and just all the friends we had. I mean, we really had a crew that we spent a lot of time with in high school, from friends that we made doing Artstarts shows. So, yeah, a lot of really special memories, and performing, of course. It was just so fun and special, and nothing like it. And doing that with your friends is really fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mom, you also mentioned that one of your favorite memories was watching us perform. And we've always said that the feeling that you get, like from taking a bow and like having an audience applaud you, is just a feeling that's unlike really any other feeling. And I do remember especially feeling that during Wizard of Oz, and I played Scarecrow in the production, and coming out with Lion and Tin Man, and like receiving the applause from the audience was like just very overwhelming, and almost like a physical response from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those moments on the stage, you're right, you can't repeat it. You can't replicate that, what that live theater is like, and what a cheering audience, a live audience giving you that immediate feedback. There's nothing like it. And the serotonin, and I mean, it's just an incredible feeling. And another really fond memory for me about Artstarts was our band used to practice at Artstarts. We would perform at Artstarts functions, whether it's the patron parties every year, or like you mentioned, on stage at the Civic Center. And that was a big deal for us. We had our suits on, and playing guitar and drums and band. That's a really, just those band moments. And Lawrence too, singing for our band in there too, practicing for different talent shows. It's just a lot of fun and so many good memories.
Yes.
Are there any other memories that you want to share?
I can't think of any right now.
Okay. Another cool memory was Artstarts singing the national anthem at the opening of the Southern Illinois Miners at the ballpark. That's sort of an iconic moment in my mind, when the very first game at the stadium, 5,000 people in the audience, and there's Artstarts, the Artstarts kids with the Artstarts shirts on. And, that's just a special memory. And there's a picture from that just is iconic at this point, with a lot of the original crew that's all now grown into the world and doing some amazing things.
I know, and people were just little kids then. And they're adults now and grown.
17
All of them.
years.
Yep.
It's a long time.
It is a long time. I said to your dad today, I just was thinking about this, that we've been married 34 years, 17 of it I've spent with Artstarts. So half of our marriage I've been working for Artstarts, volunteering for Artstarts, I should say.
I mean, but it might as well have been working with, obviously, without.
It took, really, I probably put in about 20 hours a week for Artstarts for many, many years. It took that to manage it. I mean, I know that's not believable to a lot of people, but you guys would know that. Yep.
A lot goes on behind the scenes that no one has any idea about what it actually takes year after year.
Yep. It's hard work.
Yeah, and I mean, at so many different levels. I mean, like legal work that goes into shows, paperwork that goes into shows, fundraising that goes into shows. But I mean, all of those things, but also like who puts the flower bouquet together at the end of the shows. I mean, Mom was involved in that kind of work, and Beth too, and I mean, and other people, but there's a million different things that go into it, and Mom was involved in every single levels, big, and I mean, the flowers aren't small, but yeah, from all different kinds of work. So yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously I had a lot of help, and one of the main people was my sister Beth. She was one of the founders, but she kept our finances in order. So, and that was difficult because you got to track receipts, and I mean, it's a hard job. She's done, she spent hours and hours and hours throughout the past 17 years working for Artstarts too, keeping it straight. You have to keep it above board. You've got to have the details. So she did it.
That's a real testament to you and Beth
Heather too.
Yeah. Heather too. Yeah.
to keep the company going.
Yeah, and to have integrity.
Absolutely. That's huge.
It's critical.
So what were some of the challenges or barriers that you faced within Artstarts or Artstarts faced as an organization over this time?
Well, lots of challenges. I mean, just having the energy to do the work constantly without, giving up. But I would say one of the hardest things with Artstarts is just managing people. You have so many people with different philosophies, morals, ethics, and most people think they're right in how they believe about things. So, those all play into show selections and balancing, all those interests, trying to keep everybody happy. When you can't keep everybody happy, it's an impossible task. Trying to keep politics out of the company because that can really eat away at the joy and kind of ruin the atmosphere in a company when people bring that kind of stuff in, when we want it to be a safe space for people to have joy about the arts. And then from a legal perspective, it was difficult for me to keep people in line. And by that, I mean with copyright stuff. So, when you get a license for a show, each one is a different license. And whoever owns the show has the company that sells the license for you put different types of restrictions on it. So, like for some, you can get a license to video with very, very restricted video licensing rights, and some you can't get at all. And, the artwork for the shows, it's all very restricted. So people have all these creative ideas that cross the line in terms of violating copyright laws. So I would have to rein people back in, and people didn't like that very much. But, I try my best to not do that. What some of the frustrating things for me as an attorney, I did all the legal work to establish the corporation, all the forms, all the everything. And it was copied by other people. And that really bothered me that happened. They say that copying is the best form of flattery, but to me it felt like stealing. So, that was very frustrating to me when other organizations would use my work to benefit them, and it didn't benefit Artstarts. In fact, in some ways, it harmed Artstarts by the way it was used. So, anyway, that was very frustrating to me. Managing parents is hard. Managing volunteers is hard. It's sometimes you have to call people out, even though they're a volunteer, because their conduct is harmful. So you can't let that happen. So, that stuff's really hard. It's hard to be the leader that does all that. You have to have a lot of courage and be brave and just do the job or things fall apart. So,
Well, no one could have done it better than you did it.
well, not sure about that, Luke, but
I am.
well, you're my son. I tried really hard, and it was very hard work. It's a hard job to be the leader of a group like that. Very hard. And I would say often thankless. I mean, that's not true. People appreciate what I did, but I don't know. It certainly wore me out.
So then why keep it going after?
Well, because it's so important. I mean, just because I'm resigning, my goodness, I've given 17 years of my life. I mean, somebody else has to do that, not just me. And, it's time for other people to step up to the plate. I'm not getting any younger, and I have some things I want to do, and when you're as devoted to an organization as I am, it takes a whole lot of time. And so it's time for me to do something else because I have a lot of creative interest, and I have some other career things that are happening right now that take a lot of my time. So, but why should somebody else keep it going? My goal is that Artstarts lasts forever. We impact so many kids' lives and the community profoundly. I mean, it just has to keep going.
Yeah, we haven't talked about scholarships either. I mean, that's been a big part of the work that Artstarts has done. I mean, ever since the beginning. Do you want to talk a little bit more about scholarships?
Yeah, well, we did start scholarships very at the beginning.
The Rebecca J. O'Neill Scholarship.
Well, they named it after me after I resigned as president.
Yeah, it was something else. I mean, there was
just the Artstarts Scholarship.
Yeah, and then after Mom was done being president,
I had nothing to do with that. They did.
Yeah.
They did that after I resigned as president after 12 years, just to honor me, and I really appreciated that. It's a little bit embarrassing to have it named
No.
after you.
That's a wonderful legacy.
Oh, I know, but anyway, we did start scholarship program from the get-go, and it was who was the oldest Kimball boy? Justin. Justin Kimball got our first scholarship, and what it was $1,000 a year for 4 years if you were in some type of arts program, and it didn't have to be performing arts; it could be any form of arts. And so if the person turned in their transcript once a year and kept going, they ended up with $4,000 before it was over. And we did that. We've done that every year except maybe once or twice. I think during the pandemic we may have skipped a year. And some of the kids didn't continue with their degrees, so it wasn't $4,000 for each for 17 years, but several years we had more than one scholarship recipient, and those kids did go all 4 years. So, you're talking a lot of money. 17 years times about 4,000. It's a lot of money, and we've done it all these years. So,
wow!
So I'm very proud of that program.
As you should be.
Yeah, and we also set it up so that if the board members' children could not get the scholarship, so we wanted to keep it, above the board that way. So anyway, you're penalized if your parent is on the board.
Well, Artstarts impacted me in other ways besides that too. In thinking about the impact of Artstarts for me personally, that impact has evolved greatly over the years. Originally it was this outlet and this opportunity for me to be able to perform, which is what I loved doing, and perform with people who also loved performing from these other parts of the region. And then it allowed for me to get training, practice performing arts, and then I ended up going to college at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. I performed professionally at McLeod Summer Playhouse, Timberlake Playhouse, and then another company in Texas. And then after college, I was able to come back and direct at Artstarts. I directed Lion King Jr. there. I directed a group that also went to the Junior Theater Festival. And then I got an internship in New York City, which was heavily tied to Artstarts. And the company who puts on or licenses shows is called Music Theater International, and they license shows for a lot of the junior productions that Artstarts did. And if you do one of those productions, then you're able to go to the Junior Theater Festival and compete down there. And so Artstarts did The Little Mermaid Junior, and I was able to come and direct that production that competed at JTF. And then I applied for an internship there. And then I got the internship in New York City, and that's where I am now. So Artstarts is just so like threaded into really many, many parts of my life and where I am now and who I am.
Yeah, so you moved to New York and have never moved back.
Yeah.
Thanks, Artstarts.
Yeah, thanks, Artstarts.
No, I mentioned it too, the impact in our lives, Lawrence. It's intertwined. And I mentioned there would be no Union Street without Artstarts, and Mom's example of what you could do within a arts organization in this area and how that has, we've seen what's possible and been given so many of these opportunities through the program. It's made obviously a huge impact in our lives. Life's changing for a long time.
You know, Artstarts helps other organizations too. So, well, and you know this from camp, Luke. The kids who participated in the Union Street Arts Camp this summer, they want to know where to take music lessons. Well, you know, you directed them to the Music Conservatory. There's people at the camp that want to be in Artstarts shows, so we direct them to that. So, you know, it's a very symbiotic relationship that we have here in downtown Marion with these three huge arts organizations, coupled with the Civic Center being there. I mean, we're really lucky.
Extremely. For this area and this size of a rural community to have those programming. It's like something you'd have in the Metro East city. You know, it gives that exposure.
Very high quality programming going on.
I think that's what separated Artstarts. You know, I think that's why it's been so distinguished and so successful, is because of that quality aspect. That's what has been delivered on over these years. So, why resign and why now?
Well, I touched on this briefly. I mean, in terms of my work for Artstarts, I think that in itself, that it's time for me to be done. I mean, 17 years is a very long time to commit yourself to that, any project like that. My hope is that other people will fill in, you know, the roles that I played, and you know, as other people leave, the same thing, and that a new generation will have the energy and the you know, the commitment to keep something so wonderful available for kids growing up. You know, we have a lot of young parents with kids in the shows right now. They're very excited about Artstarts. You know, it's my hope is, you know, that these families they already recognize the value of it, that they'll just pitch in and everybody help to keep it going forever, really. And then just on my own personal level, professionally, I have a new role in life. You know, I'm still full-time employed at SIU School of Law. I'm a clinical professor there, and it's a big job. The role I play is I'm an attorney for people age 60 and over for 13 counties, and now I'm the only attorney in that program. At one time we had 4, and I'm the only one in our program now. So, you know, technology helps with that. You know, when we had 4, we didn't have nearly the type of technology that we have. So it is more manageable, obviously, than it would have been when we didn't have all that. But nevertheless, I still have a huge time commitment with my work there. But recently, the governor appointed me to be the public administrator and guardian for 13 counties here in Southern Illinois. And I do that apart from my SIU work. So that's going to take a lot of my time outside of work. So the time that I'm not spending at Artstarts now, I'll be doing a lot of that work. And I feel a calling to do that because the people I serve are people who don't have anybody to serve that role. So it's a commitment to the community that I feel compelled to do. And the other thing is I want to be involved in Union Street Arts. I have a lot of creative interest that I have put on the back burner, and I'm 59 years old, and, it's time to do what I want to do. So I'm moving forward.
Well, you are a huge part of Union Street Arts, and we're very lucky that you are and have been and are continuing to be.
I love being here.
You, Lawrence, and you, Maggie.
You have a fun space here, Luke. It's very joyful to be here, very energetic, very positive. You're doing good things downtown and all over Southern Illinois. I'm proud of you.
Well, thanks, Mom. And the summer camp was a blast.
Oh, it was.
Having Lawrence here, Maggie here, you and Dad helping, getting into the whole operation, getting into the content, having you on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Takes a big team to make something like that happen.
It
was
does.
A lot of fun.
A lot of BTS,
Mm-hmm.
which I learned from the kids behind the scenes work.
There's so much that it takes.
Unbelievable.
So we're easy, anybody would do it. Oh, sure, it sounds like a great idea. There's a lot of work that goes on.
We did a lot of cutting and gluing and painting well before Arts Camp ever started.
We did. But now those are memories that I'm happy that we have.
Oh, I know.
Together.
Your dad says he wants to have art nights on Friday nights now, like you and I did, prior to camp starting.
Yeah. No, we got to spend a lot of time together.
We did.
Those days.
It was fun.
It was. Yeah.
And we're hoping to have a similar impact that Artstarts had on us here, and just the thousands of kids with Artstarts that have been involved in the program over the years, and the kids shows, being able to expose children to that. We're really inspired by that, and again, seeing what's possible through that and doing it the Union Street way as well, putting our own spin on it. Because it's, like you said, Mom, there's different niches, different things that other organizations can provide.
Yeah, I mean, Artstarts can only do so much because they don't have a full-time person running the program. It's all volunteers. The only people that we paid were the staff members, like the director, the choreographer, the music director, and things like that. Because, at one point we did have a full-time director, but once we bought the building, we couldn't do that anymore because it's so expensive to run the building. So when you don't have an employee managing things, you are limited in the programming that you can do. So, Artstarts does about all it can in terms of putting on the shows that it does. I mean, they do other things too, but it's primarily what they do, and there's just only so much that they can do. It's just like the music conservatory. There's only so much they can do. Union Street Arts, you've got your own niche. So, everybody's got their own role in this arts community that we're serving. Yeah, but it's neat that it's all there.
Like you said, we're lucky here.
We are. Yeah.
Maggie, is there anything you'd like to share?
Well, I can just, congratulate Mom on yeah, 17 years is a really long time, and I think Beth said, Mom had the vision, and with the help of people around her, she brought that vision into being, and that doesn't happen easily, and it doesn't happen a lot of the time. So it took courage and a lot of hard work, and it's meant a lot to so many people, us, but also, so many kids throughout the region, and I think it's been amazing work that you've done for the past 17 years, and I'm also happy for you to move on to the next thing, the next stage, because we all find ourselves in that position in life in times too. So yeah, wishing the best for Artstarts and happy for Mom's next step.
Thanks, Maggie.
Lawrence?
Well, just grateful for Mom, and a lot of why Artstarts was originated was because Mom wanted to have us have those opportunities to perform and to do things that we loved and that we were really passionate about. And just thank you for doing that and for your commitment to it for 17 years. And like you mentioned, a lot of the hardships that you faced in those 17 years, and just thank you for your courage and your commitment to the heart of the organization and why the organization was so important, and how you let that kind of be your shining light whenever a lot of difficult situations came up. And there were many, as with anything, and 17 years is a long time, so things do come up. But thank you for just being you and everything that you did for Artstarts.
Well, thanks.
Having the perseverance and the courage to do it and do what's right. It's an amazing legacy, Mom.
Well, thanks.
And we have big shoes to fill.
So get on it.
You two hear that?
Yeah.
You're already on it.
Well, it's been a nice conversation down memory lane, looking forward to the future as well.
I am too, and I'm looking forward to the future of Artstarts too.
Yeah.
I'm cheerleading them on. We'll financially support them, volunteer sometimes. That's my heart. So I hope that all the viewers will think about donating to Artstarts. They need your money. They do. So it takes a lot to keep it going. Yep.
Any final words?
Well, I'd just say thank you to all those who have supported Artstarts over all these years, financially, all the volunteers, all the people who've served on the board, parents for trusting us to work with your kids. It takes everybody to have something wonderful. So anyway, thank everybody who's been involved. You made it all happen. We did it all together. So thank you.
Thanks for bringing us with you.
Thanks for having me on the show.
We'll have to have you back. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Mom, Rebecca O'Neill, thanks for everything you've done. Lawrence, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Maggie,
Thanks for having us again.
it's been good. We'll come back when you guys are back. Back to New York City. Back to Sweden.
Yep.
Until next time.
Until next time. That's right.
We'll have to have you back on for an update. Mom, me and you are still going to be here. Still doing it.
Boston.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to this podcast, the Union Street Podcast. A new episode every Friday at noon Central Standard Time. We'll see you the next one.